All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us today for our second panel in our two-part series on youth voice during the COVID-19 era. My name is Jeannie Pupil-Walker, and I'm the State Director for Education Trust in Tennessee. The Education Trust is a national nonprofit that works to close opportunity gaps that disproportionately affect students of color and students from low-income backgrounds. Through our research and advocacy, EdTrust supports efforts that expand excellence and equity in education from preschool through college, increase college access and completion, particularly for historically underserved students, and engage diverse communities dedicated to education equity, and increase political and public will to act on equity issues. The Education Trust has a higher education team that works every day to support policies and advocate for policies that support students. And then we have recently released a higher education equity agenda in response to COVID-19. I have placed a link to that agenda in the chat box. Feel free to download it and take a look. We believe much more can be done to help students during this difficult time. We are so excited to partner today with Chalkbeat Tennessee on this listening session, where we will hear from college students from across the state and get their unique perspectives on the realities they face as their lives and education have been interrupted. We have all read about the complex challenges facing universities and colleges during this time, but little has been done to bring student voice into these conversations. The Education Trust believes that we must center the voices of our students and provide a platform for their perspectives and opinions to be heard. Our goal is to work closely with these students for the remainder of the year, equipping them with opportunities to tell their own stories and to create a framework where they are considered the primary sources of knowledge and are empowered to bring about the change they wish to see in their schools and in their communities. Ultimately, we believe that these students can provide important context and an urgent call to action for institutional leaders and policymakers across the state. We would like to extend a special thank you to our partners who nominated these students to participate and who lead important youth-serving organizations in Tennessee. They are Centro Hispano in Knoxville, the Office of Mayor Andy Burke in Chattanooga, Tennessee statewide NAACP, and our partners at Fisk University and Cumberland University. I'm now excited to pass the baton over to our two moderators. The first is Caroline Bauman from Chalkbeat, and the second is Ashton Mayo-Beavers, who is a senior at Chattanooga High School Center for the Creative Arts. Ashton was a participant in our panel on Tuesday, and we're so glad she can be here today as a moderator. Thanks to both of you, and I'll pass it off.
Hi everyone, Caroline here from Chalkbeat. Just want to say a huge thank you to EdTrust in Tennessee. This is our second event. For those who are unable to join us for Tuesday's conversation, know that that conversation with middle and high school students and today's conversation will be uploaded to YouTube, Chalkbeat's YouTube page, so you'll be able to access that. For those unfamiliar, Chalkbeat Tennessee is a nonprofit news organization dedicated to reporting on Tennessee schools. We're really excited to host this event with EdTrust because we believe that our role as journalists is to chronicle what education looks like or what it could look like during this difficult season. We're super excited to hear from these college students today. We know that student voices are some of the most important when it comes to discussing issues in higher ed, and yet sometimes they're the voices least heard. But we also know that we can change that with conversations like what we're doing today. A couple of housekeeping notes. We're aiming to end around 1:15 Central Time. Like I said, we will be recording this event. We're going to introduce a poll. Hopefully that'll pop up on your screen shortly. That helps us know who's in the room. So thank you in advance for taking the time to answer that poll. Please use the Q&A function, which should be on the lower right hand of your Zoom box, to ask our student panelists questions. We'll be monitoring that and we'll select questions for an audience Q&A portion. You can also use the chat box for any comments or tech support that you need. Know that those comments are public so we can all see them. And finally, we're not going to be using the raise your hand function because our time is tight today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my fellow moderator, Ashton, to kick us off.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashton Mayo-Beavers. I'm a graduating senior at Chattanooga High School Center for Creative Arts, and in the fall I'll be attending Mercer University as a computer science major. I'm really excited to get to co-moderate this event and to hear from these awesome panelists. So without further ado, we're going to let them introduce themselves. The panelists are going to say their name, their city, their current institution, and one word to describe how they're feeling. And we're going to start with William.
William, are you with us? All right, we'll get him to call in. Ashton, you want to call the next person?
Yes. Allie, would you like to go next?
Yes, my name is Allie Garcia. I'm an upcoming senior studying psychology at Cumberland University. I reside in Lebanon, Tennessee, and one word to describe myself right now is gratitude. I feel very blessed for being able to be in good health and happy for the people who are able to get back to work as myself with safety precautions.
Thank you. KaMaya?
Hi, I am Kamiya Burrell. I am a junior at UTC. I study chemistry. I am from Brownsville, Tennessee. And one word that would be used to describe me is relieved. This semester has been a hassle, and I am so glad that it is finally over.
Thank you. Ruby?
Hi everyone, my name is Ruby Aguilar and I am a current senior at Lipscomb University majoring in English education for secondary teaching. And one word to describe how I'm feeling right now is optimistic, especially after Tuesday's panel discussion with the middle and high school students and just hearing everything they had to say, it just left me very optimistic for what's to come.
Thank you so much for that. John?
Hello, I am John Martinez Mateo. I'm based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm a rising junior at Maryville College studying international business. And not to steal KaMaya's answer or anything, but definitely relief would be the word I would use to describe because of all the events that have conspired or here lately.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Khadesha.
Hi everyone, my name is Khadesha Gordon and I'm a non-traditional student at UTC from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And one word to describe how I'm feeling right now, I think will be anxious. I'm just nervous to see what will come of COVID-19 and the effects of it in the next semester and just excited to see what's next.
Thank you. And if William comes back and is able to rejoin us, he'll introduce himself.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for those introductions. So you've been out of school, and by that I mean off campus, for nearly 2 months now. And I'm curious, just to start our dialogue, what's on y'all's minds? What's the biggest thing on your mind right now? And this is for everyone, so anyone can jump in.
I think after you, Ruby.
Thank you, Mateo. I am just thinking about what will student teaching look like for me in the fall, just because it's my last semester and I am placed in an MNPS high school at Overton High School, and I haven't been able to connect with my students that I'll be working with, and I'm just worried about whether we'll be in school, whether I'll be to complete my EdTPA and like my licensure, and just like what will life be like for my students, you know, going back to school and just thinking about that. And so, yeah.
Definitely what I have on my mind is the opportunities and that we have this upcoming year, for example, like internships and stuff. Since I am a rising junior, I do have to complete an internship. It's mandatory for my school. So just seeing what kind of opportunities are available and whatnot.
Yeah, John, I'm curious, what are you considering for internships? What could that look like for you?
I mean, definitely something relating to finances, marketing, or just like sales management kind of.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in on what's on their mind right now?
I'm feeling a little confronted and conflicted with how leadership on campus would look like if we were to go online. For people who are in extracurricular or other organizations. I'm also kind of concerned as a psych major how my senior seminar would have to go and all the research behind it. I know things would have to be adapted and certainly very different. And so I'm just feeling a little clueless as to what that would look like, but I'm hoping for the best.
think like everyone else, again, I'm anxious about how next semester will go as far as will we be online? Will we be back on campus? If we're back on campus, how will life on campus change? And then also one big thing is just finances. As a non-traditional student, being head of household and already having to sacrifice and just working part-time and then having those part-time hours cut as well. It's like, what will come with this? Like, how will I be able to supplement for that? So that's one of the things that's on my mind.
Mine would just be piggybacking basically off of everyone. And then it would just be figuring out how will this affect me physically, mentally, and emotionally in the upcoming semester, since I am a junior, knowing that I am a part of different organizations on campus, and not knowing even if we will go back to campus, how will that go about? How will I be able to work on campus, because that was where my finances came from. So it raises a lot of questions, and it's kind of hard to see how things will play out.
And Khadesha and KaMaya, you kind of talked about like finances and finding that balance now that you're off campus. So kind of describe, if you would like, how your learning environment is right now, and like what support and have you received from your institution, and how have you and your family been able to adapt to this change?
Yeah, so now my learning environment is typically always loud. Today is an exception. I had to make some arrangements to make sure I had this time to myself, but yeah, it's typically very just loud. I have a 2-year-old and I am a single parent, and her school was closed as well. So she's typically here with me, working with me while I'm working or while I'm doing school. And so that can get a little challenging at times. And as far as the finance piece, we did receive an emergency fund from UTC, so I'm very appreciative of that. That helped tremendously for some of the things that was on my mind and that I was worried about. And just typically we're adapting. Me and my daughter, like, she's excited that I'm home. Obviously, she didn't get to see me as much, working and then being at school. So we've just had to adapt. Like, sometimes I'm on Zoom calls and I'm cooking, or sometimes I'm on Zoom calls and I'm giving a bath. So I thought I was a great multitasker at first. This has definitely took that up a notch. So I am like learning to adapt, and just grateful more than anything that I actually did have a place to shelter in place at and to quarantine, because we all know that has, or what we all have learned is that quarantining has become a luxury, or it's a luxury for some people. Some people don't have, the resources to be able to shelter in place. And so I'm just grateful for that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, go ahead, KaMaya.
I would say that my current learning environment, at first it was a little shaky, transitioning from UTC back home, but after a while it did become sturdy. Being away from my typical learning environment, it was kind of hard at first, but it allowed me to work twice as hard, because usually I'm in my room where it's quiet and peaceful. I'm in the library, but now I'm at home where it's like loud, and my dog is always running around. My nieces and my nephew is always here. So it was a big transition, but it worked. The communication between my professors and I, it was a little to none. Only 1 out of 4 of my professors supplied me with the resources the UTC has. So she sent us links for UTC counseling, telehealth, and communications, or consultations, not communications, as well as emergency and crisis hotlines. So if we were feeling suicidal or anything, she connected us to those resources. And only 1 of my professors did that, which bothered me a lot. but it's okay. The UTC also has a program called the Mox Checking In program. They sent us an email and they gave me a call regarding my well-being, and I thought that that was very alarming, and I was truly grateful for it because I did not know that they did that. While being home, there are several distractions, worries, and complications, of course, as I mentioned before, that I face on a daily basis. But my family and I, we have transitioned accordingly since the pandemic has started. We always make sure to take precautions for our safety and for the safety of others. If someone is visiting, have on a mask, wash your hands, of course, because why wouldn't you do that? And if we are to leave and come back into the house, my mom would always spray our shoes with disinfectant so we would not track anywhere.
Thank you so much. My mom would do the same thing if I was home. So that's a funny image for sure. I know that Khadesha spoke to this, but I'd love to throw it out to the rest of you. Jackie asked us in the Q&A chat, so Jackie in the audience, did your campus offer any COVID relief or any sort of emergency funds? And if so, how did you get information about that? Or did you have to apply, or how did you know how to apply? So it sounded like UTC provided some support there. I'd be curious to hear more about it from the UTC folks. And then if anyone else wants to weigh in on that, that'd be great too.
Yeah, I actually didn't know. I just checked my email one day and it said that I had qualified for the fund, so I didn't have to do anything extra or apply. I'm sure it was probably based off of, my financial aid or information that the school already had. But once again, I was very appreciative of that. It was very well needed.
Has any other university here had information about that or offered something like that for you all? Would be curious.
I also noticed in my email that Cumberland University sent out an emergency relief fund, and so I didn't really look into it as much, but I know that was present, and I know it was posted in various places, so just even seeing that made me feel hopeful for the students that really needed it.
Cool, thanks, Allie. So a couple of you have mentioned kind of relief at the semester being over, but I'd love to hear what it was like, what the move was like to interrupted learning, or learning from home, or learning from your apartment, or learning from the bathtub, and just what was the most challenging part of this process, and what do you wish people understood about what that situation was like for you all? So John, if you don't mind, I'd love to start with you on that.
All right. I think the most challenging part and the thing that people need to consider the most is definitely that students will be distracted, and that's just something that's like bound to happen. Like there's a lot of distractions that are occurring at home. For example, I was already a commuter, and so but like having the facilities that like such as library and stuff that are like catered to just like the focus on school. Like I use those kind of facilities to like, get work done and like do my things, and like from home, being at home, it's a very laid back environment, and like an environment where I like tend to just use for relaxation. So it kind of throws me off when I'm trying to get work done and be productive from home, So I got to go different places and whatnot, and try to figure out where I can be doing, focus up the best. But in the consequence of that being like distracted is like, the quality of work also goes down. So like professors need to understand that like that work won't be the same, the work that you're providing them, what you're turning in.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, John. Ruby, how about for you?
Yeah, I think the most challenging part for me has been balancing school life with home life, and just like with everything that goes on inside my home, because it wasn't just about having this like quiet space at home. My dad, he's a dialysis patient. He has end-stage renal disease. And so because he's vulnerable to this, virus, this COVID-19 virus, some of his appointments have been moved to online, and his physical therapy that he receives has to be like done here at home. And so oftentimes I found myself trying to navigate like having to do my work, but also trying to make time to support him and like his appointments, and like helping out my mom and my sisters, and not having them do all the work just because I had classes, and just sort of balancing all of our schedules together. And then also it's just been challenging dealing with the anxiety and fear that stems from having two vulnerable parents here at home. Like I said, my dad is a dialysis patient, so that alone makes him, vulnerable to the virus because he is immunocompromised. But not too long ago, my mom was also an organ donor, and she's also immunocompromised. So there's this anxiety just building up every day of, what if I go out to grocery shopping and I come back home and, I bring something with me, or, someone drops off something and, the virus is there. It's just this like continuous anxiety that builds up. So I just wish that people, not only professors, but just everyone understood that for some of us, this virus is something serious, and it's something that goes beyond, what we hear in the media. It's something that we live day to day in our homes, and we need to adapt to that. And there's feelings that we go through that, I just wish people understood that the severity of it and the complexity, and they just took more precautions for people like my parents who, are dealing with the fear of catching this virus.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ruby. Allie, how about you for this question?
Yes, I've always been one of those students that sits in the front of the classroom. I find that's the best way for me to learn because I can feel the energy off the teacher, and so I'm more on guard with what I'm working with. And so it was really, really hard for me to manage that online. I felt like even in my Zoom meetings, I wasn't able to concentrate as much. I would just kind of wander, and like, in addition to that, I realized that coming from a Latino household, I didn't necessarily realize that, coming back home would mean I would have additional responsibilities. Not that they're ever seen as a burden, but you realize you may have to help your younger sibling with their homework, or maybe you have to pay a bill online that your parents can't take care of. So it was a lot about helping my family adapt to new ways of changing and navigating through COVID-19 and the effects of it. So that was, I repeat, it wasn't a burden. I don't think any of us ever think it's a burden, but it was just additional responsibilities that I hadn't foreseen. And so you may think you might have had all day to work on an essay, but in reality, it may have only been like a few hours too. So that had some effect. But I think in addition, I would like for whoever's listening just to understand that for students, like college and university isn't always just a place to turn in assignments. It's a place of love and compassion and comfort from your cohorts, your students, and your teachers. And so I just think of the students that may need additional resources to learn, or students that struggle with mental illness, or just students where going to the university was going to be a place of relief and like safety, and being able to study in a quiet and safe environment. And so I feel like that's just something that I think about, but I'm excited to see how we grow through this, and how Cumberland and all the other universities are able to adapt to things like this if they ever occur in the future as well.
Thank you so much for that, Allie. I really kind of resonate with that, just like all the family and kind of balancing those responsibilities. So thank you for that. William, you're able to join us. Would you like to go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and just tell your name, your university, and kind of a word to describe you?
Of course, I do apologize for having some connectivity issues, but I am William Collins. I am a rising junior now at Fisk University. I'm a double political science pre-law as well as music with a concentration in voice major with a double minor in women and gender studies and ethnomusicology. And one word to describe how I am feeling right now would be relief, of course, because I finally got all of this situated and done, but also I received some really good news this week, so it's a little bit more of a relief to me now.
Thank you so much. And for this next question, a lot of you have talked about kind of finding that balance between your home and like the responsibilities and distractions, also your schoolwork. So this question specifically for William, Khadesha, and John, but how have your institutions and your professors and your administrations been able to support you through your challenging, and have they supported you? And what would you like say that they need to do to support you in your challenges?
I can go ahead and start. For me, I definitely would say that my institution has done a lot in consistently sending out email blasts, even though it may just be to the student distribution list. They've consistently sent out emails just to make sure that we're okay. I actually have a really an amazing person to me. His name is Willie Jude. He's our vice president of student affairs, and he is just amazing. Every Monday, he'll send out a Monday morning blast just to continue to encourage us, even though we're done with the semester. And I think that's what a lot of institutions should do, or have one person consistently encouraging, even though it could be more. And that's what really has been getting me through the fact that I was dealing with so many different other assignments, as well as getting a job. But just to have that encouragement every Monday morning to last me throughout the week was amazing.
Thank you so much. Khadesha, would you like to answer this question next?
Sure, could you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, definitely. So what could your institutions and your universities and your professors do better to support you? And what kind of support have you received? But what could they do better as well?
Yeah, and once again, that I received the emergency fund, so that was helpful. But I guess more personalized, support would be nice, to just know that my university empathizes. I know the chancellor sends out his letter every so often, and it's been great getting that, keeping updated with everything that's been going on around campus as usual. But more so for my professors, I just wish they would understand, like many of you guys have already said, that, and like I said before, having a quiet place in your home, being able to quarantine in a quiet space is a luxury. So I'm not able to give what I was able to give before on campus, or before all of this started. I have 10 times more responsibilities, like Allie said, now than ever before. And so just really understanding that, and I hate to ask them to be more lenient, but more understanding to that this is beyond just us just being in the house. And a lot of people have misinterpreted as, because we're just in the house and confined to one space, that I guess we have all this magical free time, but that is not what it is at all. And so, again, like I said, just understanding and acknowledging that would go a long way.
Thank you so much for that. I really resonate with that too. I think it resonates with all students that we don't have as much free time as everybody thinks. It's really about our schoolwork. John, would you like to talk about this next?
Yes. So all my professors have been doing a very good job about communicating with us and reaching out. I've been in much contact with most of my professors, and we've been Zooming throughout the whole COVID-19 thing. We were Zooming frequently for classes and stuff. We were still continuing with that kind of interaction. So in the school is very supportive. I hate to say it, but Maryville College didn't give the students any kind of emergency fund, which is something that every other school around the area did, which is something that they could have done, but they didn't, and which is fine, but it could have helped out a lot of people. But administration has been very supportive. My professors have become a little bit more lenient about their grading and like what they're expecting of individuals. So I'd say that at least my institute has done a fairly well job at doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. And this next question is from Debbie Smith, who's listening in with us today. Several of you have talked about kind of support and the like emotional sense or in the reaching out to you sense or in the financial sense. But with the move to remote learning, how did your institutions provide support for the tech side of this, right? For the classrooms all on Zoom or classrooms all online? What did those supports look like or maybe not look like? And what could have helped that wasn't there or wasn't present for you all? So this question's for anyone, if anyone wants to jump in on it.
I think I'll take that question. When we were told to go home, what happened with us, it was a Friday afternoon, and then we got an email that our institution was shutting down. We were like, all right, well, how are we gonna work this out? Then they said we had till the following Saturday to evacuate campus, move, and go back home. We were great. Then all of a sudden we get an email, was the Tuesday after the email was sent, saying we had to be gone by the next day by 5 p.m., which kind of caused all of us to go into chaos and disarray. We were so confused. I myself was confused because I also serve as a resident assistant. So it kind of made me look weird and I was a little bit upset because I had my own residents coming up to me saying, well, what are we supposed to do? Some of us don't even have Wi-Fi at home. The services that are offered here, how are we supposed to go online and how are we supposed to do things? And I just sat there dumbfounded because not everybody has this other capability as others, if that makes sense. But I will say, before this devastating tragedy and pandemic came about, my institution already had a emergency student fund trust set up for students, and they were already willing to, okay, well, this is what we can do to help you with this, and we can do to help you with that. So there are so many individuals that have come to me and told me, hey, thank you for directing me in this position, because now, because of this fund, they were able to help me get a Wi-Fi hotspot so I can do my work at home, so I can do these other things. I will say it was a little bit of a weird transition. Of course, doing online classes, of course, is already hard. I did them during the summer and during the winter, and they are very stressful. But I will say that my institution has not dropped the ball when it comes to helping us make sure we have those necessary things to secure our grades, our GPAs for these online classes.
Thanks, William. Allie, you want to go?
Yeah, I would like to mention that at Cumberland University, we have people from various countries and various states. And so I, as a resident assistant, was very grateful that they let dorms still remain open with excessive conditions, like no outside visitors and no people going from different resident halls to different ones. So I personally felt safe. They had cleaning people come in every day and clean the facilities. So, you knew it was always clean. And so I felt grateful for that, because I know a lot of international students on campus, and I know a lot of them weren't able to go home, or there was borders that were closed. And so I feel like that's one thing that my university really did really good on, in helping the students and helping changes and adapt and being considerate for the students that couldn't go home.
Yeah, definitely. KaMaya, I'd love to throw this to you and just broaden it a little bit of, obviously no one could have predicted this moment, but how could universities, or your university specifically, how could they have better prepared for it, or better prepared you for it?
Okay, so we all know that this was unpredictable, and of course it's unpreventable as well. But I feel as if my university could have prepared me better, just by having a section in the handbook stating anything with natural disasters or a pandemic or any emergency crisis, regarding if we were to leave our dorms and not to come back for a semester, or if we were to stay in our dorms for the remaining of the semester, then there should be a protocol that we will follow. I feel as if the 1 week transition that we had from going face-to-face to online, it wasn't as clean as we would have hoped, but it helped a little, at least. I think that colleges and universities should train the professors both face-to-face and online, so that way if we were to transition something like that again, then it would be a lot smoother and it would be a lot easier for us, because the information that we were provided, it was a lot going on. It was very chaotic, of course, so everyone would just be well prepared, and with that information, teachers and professors would be able to include that into their syllabi. So if we are going from face-to-face to online, we won't have to go from not using online things in class to go online, and then we have to buy extra resources that we don't have the money for at that time. So I just feel like that should be something that should be worked out this semester, well, with the university.
Yeah, thank you. Ruby, how about you for this question? What do you feel like universities could do, or yours specifically, or could have done to better prepare our students for this period of time?
I mean, like kind of like what KaMaya was saying, obviously, you know, it was unpredictable, and like we didn't expect the situation to, you know, go beyond what it is now. But I kind of wish that Lipscomb would have acted sooner on letting us know that we wouldn't be returning to campus, because it sort of happened around the time where we went on spring break. And there was a few days where there was this uncertainty of, we're seeing all these schools closing around us, but what's going to happen with, you know, our class time? Will we be returning to campus? What's going to happen with the students who live on campus? Like, will they, you know, where will they go if they don't have anywhere to go? Will we get refunds for the money we've paid so far? You know, some of us have worked hard, some of us working 2-3 jobs to pay for school. You know, are we, you know, there was this uncertainty of what's going to happen with that money. Will we get refunds, partial refunds? Some of us can't work in this situation. I'm in that situation where I can't work right now. And so there was just all this uncertainty going on. And I felt like we didn't have access to information as quick as I would have wanted. But of course, I've also come to understand that this whole situation requires us to be flexible, and it requires us to adapt to change and quick change. And so, yeah, if I were to say something, I would say definitely like be better prepared next time and have protocols in place to respond to situations like this that advance so quickly, and also taking the time to survey, you know, the needs of all the students, because all of us have different needs. And that wasn't really something that we got asked about, like, what is your home life like? What resources do you have? Or, you know, what can we provide for you? Or even taking into consideration just like the diversity and like the culture that comes into play also with this situation. Like, you know, what different things are students adapting to in their homes that, you know, we can support you with. Like, I feel like the more of that needs to happen, not just with Lipscomb, but with like many institutions across here.
Thank you so much for that, Ruby. And you did talk a lot about like the adaptations a lot of universities should and are kind of making, but I would like to hear from everybody. What do you think the institutions and universities should learn from this? From all the changes that they aren't making, what should they learn for for your future? So as you return back to your universities and campuses, is there any changes that are being made now that you think should be implemented as you get back to the campus, or things that should be changed when you come back to campus? And this is questions for anybody.
I think schools should probably try to instill make more of a regular occurrence, like the online courses, so we can like prepare just in case, you know, because I personally had never had an online course up until this point, the whole COVID-19 thing, and now I had no like former experience in it, so it kind of was hard to like accommodate to it, you know, but definitely I guess like offer more courses like that, and like try to push us to get familiarized with it.
I definitely agree, especially as like transitioning. I'm a high school student, so transitioning from high school to college is kind of implementing some of those online classes would be really cool. Anybody else would like to jump in on this question?
I think
I will.
it would be nice. Sorry.
Go ahead, Allie. Go ahead.
Go. I'm sorry. I think
You're fine.
stability from like the teachers. I know that a lot of people are going to have to work even more than usual, maybe to recover from funds they may have lost or maybe bills and stuff. So I think just coming in with a flexible mind and understanding from our professors and our higher ups to know that, you know, it's going to take a second to adapt and recover both mentally, physically, and, you know, and monetary value and stuff like that.
Definitely. What Allie said was a little bit of what I was going to say as well. For professors to become more understanding, I've seen a lot of professors become much more understanding, of course, because of this pandemic, and they are always willing to reach out. But another thing that I wanted to pinpoint was the fact, or is the fact that more professors need to become more available, if that makes sense. Like for instance, I struggled the rest of this semester with one professor who would rarely answer an email. So it was like, okay, well, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do this assignment, or how do you want this done, or what do you want done in this aspect, or how do you want it, like really, because for me, I know personally, if I'm going to turn an assignment, I'm going to give the best because I need every point possible for that assignment. So I think that this pandemic has allowed and made a lot of professors work on their communication skills, because some professors do have office hours, but now you don't really get to observe those office hours, or you don't get to go and talk to them all the time. And I feel like if they made themselves more available to students, we would have a better situation where students can actually feel like, oh, I can go talk to my professor now, we can get this done, and things like that.
I kind of want to piggyback off of William and what he said about the professors not communicating effectively. I do understand that Chat recently had a tornado that hit, and it was kind of hard for us to communicate with our professors as well, since one of my professors actually was affected by the tornado. But even before, I feel like it was kind of hard to connect with them. I feel like even though emails don't work and Zooms aren't always efficient because they aren't always answering the calls, something needs to be done to help us better communicate with them, because it's just not working.
I agree, KaMaya. I'm a Chattanooga native, and so my mom lives in the area where it was pretty devastating. And so I actually got up. I remember her like not answering the phone one morning, and like I had talked to her the night before, but I had to get up and like go over there, and the devastation I saw was out of this world. And so it was like COVID-19 on top of, you know, seeing the devastation from the tornado. It was very hard, but still I was expected, you know, to keep up with schoolwork and everything. You know, eventually a couple of the days after the university did, you know, push exams and stuff back, and some professors actually didn't adhere to it. But it was like, again, you know, that lack of empathy there. And then if I'm dreaming big for a second, I want to advocate for, again, students who are parents and the non-traditional students, you know, especially single parents, but not just single parents, you know, two parent households, because a lot of them are, both parents are working from home. And so whose responsibility is it, you know, to watch over the kids? They're having to go back and forth. And so a lot of work right now is not being given the best it could. And so when we come back, if I could see maybe an office of parental support, that would be awesome. And that office could be an office that offers, you know, childcare resources, affordable housing resources. Even if UTC could even fathom or think about opening family housing to making access to campus easier for parents and things of that sort. And so I hope we can learn from this. And again, the biggest thing I think here is just being empathetic, not sympathetic, but being empathetic to students and what they deal with and what they go through, and understanding that, you know, their circumstances are are all different. And sometimes, you know, the academics, unfortunately, can get put on the back burner. And the biggest thing is not grades, it's not any of that, but it's really learning. You know, these are our careers that are on the line. So what we learn at the university is what we will take with us here and beyond. And so we want to make sure that the information that we're getting, we're able to retain it or able to take something from it, and not just doing assignments because it's due and we don't want to throw it away, even though we have the stress of the world on our shoulders.
Khadesha, I definitely wanted to say before we move to the next topic, I definitely commend you for that, because my best friend is actually a single mother going through high school. I actually met her before we got to Fisk, and not high school, through college, excuse me. And every day I see how hard it is on her when she has to, because she's from Chicago and she leaves her son at home to come study about an 8-hour drive away so that she can do what she needs to do, get her degree. She's going for business. She's continuously making these amazing grades, but there are days where we'll just sit and talk to each other, and it's like, I really miss my son, but I'm doing this for him. So I commend you for that, because that is something that a lot of schools need. I know it may have been a thing in the past, but it really hurt me because I work in the residence life office, and to know that there is not family housing at my institution it sucks, for lack of a better term, because there are a lot of students who have children who are non-traditional students, as well as our traditional students coming in right after college that have children. And I think there needs to be another level of empathy when it comes to that. So thank you and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, Liam. Totally echo all of that. So we have a couple questions that I'd love to get to from the audience. One is from an Erin O'Hare. And it's, you guys have kind of touched on this in this last question, but I'd love to go a little deeper. She asked, do you all want to return to campus? Like, would you feel comfortable returning this fall? And what things would need to be in place for you all to feel comfortable returning to an on-campus education? So open to anyone, would be curious to hear from y'all.
I guess what would make me feel very comfortable about returning to campus is knowing that the school over the summer, they cleaned everything, and like I guess like they did what they could to provide like a actual like clean, germ-free environment. You know, maybe like put like those hand sanitizer things like throughout the campus and whatnot, stuff like that. Just little things just to keep like you know, cleanliness. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Ruby, how about for you on this question? What would make you feel comfortable returning this fall? What do you want to see universities do?
I mean, definitely echoing what John said, just, knowing that the campus is, safe and sanitized and clean. Of course, that's important. But I think also going back, we don't know what mindset students are coming from or what emotions they've been going through. So I would love to go back to a campus, and I'd feel safe going back to a campus that has a system set in place to support students emotionally and mentally, not just like by sending us, to counselors or, to get help, but like in the classroom, seeing what professors can do to support us, and maybe even giving us time to debrief the whole situation and sort of using everything we just went through to do like some social emotional learning in the classroom. Like I would feel safe doing that, because I know I can talk to my family and I can talk to my friends about, my mentality and like everything that I've been feeling, but I would love to also be able to connect through that with my professors and with other students, and just, through that also learn how to be a community again and learn how to feel safe being on campus again.
I just want to say, like, although I loathe online classes and it's very difficult for me, and I would love to be back on campus, research and things is changing every day with COVID-19. There's so much uncertainty around it. Hence, again, why I said I'm just kind of anxious right now. And so we don't know by August if it'll even be safe to go back to classes still, even at this point, being a month or two almost out of the university and classes. So I would love to do that, but I would feel safe if there are, if doctors are coming and saying, it's safe to go back on campus and not, I know it's so weird that science has become like polarized. I don't know how that happened, but it's like either you're on one side or the other, but like, what is the real research? What is it saying? Like, is it safe? And if it's not, then we need to do better online training for students and for teachers to be able to be successful.
So a couple of you talked about just earlier about like mental health and kind of the support you've received and the lack of support you've received, personal support from teachers and institutions and your universities. But what kind of support or what kind of support would you like to receive about for your mental health? And this question comes from Claudia. She just wants to know about like what support have you gotten about your mental health? And we can start with KaMaya if you would like to.
The support that I have gotten for my mental health, I would say, for me, I am a writer. Like if I'm going through anything, I usually write. I don't really talk to people because I feel like though someone may be feeling the same way that I'm feeling, it's just not the same for me as writing. I definitely can get all of my emotions out through writing. The university does have counseling centers, and we have this organization called SSS, which is Student Support Services. This woman named Melissa, I love her to death. She's amazing. I usually talk to her about things. She'll send us emails, just checking on us daily, making sure that we're doing okay. And she'll send out little encouragements. And I emailed her the other day just to tell her that you don't know how much it actually helped me get through the semester. So that helped a lot too, but it's basically my support there.
I'm personally a psych major, so I know a lot of our teachers already kind of think of our mental health. So I felt blessed that, our teachers would send out emails regarding our mental health. I think as students though, and this is different for everyone, but it's kind of hard to reach out when you are struggling if you're not necessarily close with the person. And I'm not quite sure what the right answer would be on how to bridge that. But I think in the future, just having for my university specifically, having more of a diverse counseling support. We actually only have just like a male. And so it's kind of hard for people maybe of color or maybe females who want to release what they have going on. So I don't know, I just kind of hope that we do get more counseling support, but also a diverse counseling. So like that you can feel like they truly understand you, because I feel like everyone's experience is different, but also ethnic people, people of color kind of experience a different side of things. And so it's very relieving when someone can really relate to you on that aspect.
I'll go ahead and go. I definitely would say that there's been one professor that is consistently on my mind all the time, because she is always checking up on our students. But more importantly, she's checking up on me, which really resonated with me because she's not obligated to do so. What she's required to do is come in and instruct and make sure we're understanding the knowledge so that we can pass the course. And this is a professor I'll be seeing for all 4 years of my education career at Fisk University. She is my one of my music professors, as well as my advisor. So I see her every single day. So it was a weird transition because I would have to do a Zoom class with her every every morning, or a Zoom instruction one-on-one. But one of the things that she would do right before we started and working on certain pieces, voice pieces, she would say, "William, how are you?" And I wouldn't understand for a little bit, like, why are you asking me how I am every time? But then a couple sessions in, she said, "William, I'm asking how you are because I know from our personal talks and how I've been a confidant for you that you were going through a lot before we had the COVID-19 disaster. And going through a lot would have meant I lost a brother to gun violence, and then in the span of a week back to each other, I lost 2 aunts. So it was really, really hard. But it meant so much to me that she was worried about my mental health as well as my academic career, but my mental health was much more of an important issue to her than my education, because she wanted me to be mentally okay before I was educationally okay, because a not mentally okay student, as far as their mental health, is not going to succeed educationally wise. And she understood that. And I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it, but it meant so much to me because, wow, like, we all go to our different colleges and we said that they're our family, and that is definitely what you want your family to do. These are people who virtually know nothing about you until you get there and spend 4 years with them, but they're always so loving. So to answer the question, how has my institution or what is being done for our mental health, I definitely would say there are so many professors at Fisk. I've not even just Fisk, I have a lot of friends in the Nashville area that go to different schools, such as Lipscomb and Belmont and Tennessee State, whose professors have reached out to them and just wanted to know how they're doing. Forget the education or forget the academics. How are you doing personally? Is there anything I can do to help you? Is what I've seen so many different times.
Yeah. Thank you, William. I think something that's so clear to me, and it sounds so basic, but it's not, is something that really sticks with you all is professors who show an immense amount of empathy, and professors where that connection isn't as obvious, right? Where the empathy isn't as clear. So I definitely think that's really significant and important, and I'm glad you guys have spoken to that. I wanted to ask a question from Victoria. She said she's interested to learn about how, for any of you all who have a degree or some classes that require work-based learning or internships or hands-on experience, how have you gotten communication about how to complete those requirements, and how are your colleges supporting them? So does that relate to any of you all in your courses?
Yeah, I know this coming up semester in the fall, I would have been senior, and so I probably would have had to do an internship class, if not in the fall, maybe in the spring, but and I'm already doing one, but it's just not, official one that I would actually get credit for because I didn't sign up for the class in time, but I'm not sure. I actually would have to kind of go see, but I don't know at this point how that will work. So.
Yeah, so communication hasn't been there quite yet. Ruby, how about for you? I know, student teaching is a big thing on your mind probably. So what does that communication or support or lack thereof look like for you?
Yeah, the College of Education at Lipscomb is like amazing. They're super great at preparing us for student teaching, before we go in to actually do it. And so when this whole situation came up, my professors for my clinical practice courses for student teaching, they were quick about sending us emails and sort of being the bridge between us and our practicum schools and communicating with us quickly whether the schools were going to close or not. And so I really appreciated that because they were quick about responding to the situation. And so they even allowed for, us to take time to grieve. They gave us time to grieve that we wouldn't continue in our practicums, for the rest of the semester. And they're just very purposeful about, connecting with us, whether it's weekly or you know, whatever, about just sending us emails or texts or like group me notifications about, you know, just make, even though we're not in class, like make sure that you submit this for like student teaching, you know, make sure that you've taken your praxis exams. Through them was actually how I found out that, you know, we would still be able to take our praxis exams to get our teaching endorsements in order to student teach. Like that was going to move to an online format. And so, yeah, just getting that quick access to information has been super helpful. And then also still being able to connect with my mentor teachers at Overton, and being able to just keep that connection and talk to her about what will my student teaching look like in the fall if I do go back, and if I don't go back, what can I do with the students that I already started working with, because I'll be working with the same students in the fall. But yeah, my professors with the College of Education at Lipscomb have just been super amazing about getting quick information to us, and that is just a blessing to have them to do that for us.
Thank you so much, Ruby, for that. So this next question comes from Jackie, and she just wants to know, do you have any advice for high school seniors kind of entering into college through this pandemic and through a lot of this uncertainty, or any advice for anybody working with the high school seniors? I know I'm a senior, and I would love to know your guys' perspective and take on what I should be doing, or what advice I should be doing throughout the summer, kind of through all this uncertainty. So this question's open to anybody.
One thing that I will say is there are so many different advantages now and so many different opportunities that you should take advantage of. For example, there are like a lot of schools now that are waiving their SAT and ACT requirements for admission. They're waiving application fees. They're virtually saying like, listen, we know what's going on, so we're going to give you some help. We're going to make it easier on you. Another thing that I will also say is, even though we're going through something like this, come into college with an open mind. When you already make up your mind about how you want your life to go at college, I'm a living testimony is that it will smack you in the face and you will be like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do what college wants me to do. Because honestly, one thing that I said, for my personal story, I'm keeping it short and simple and sweet. I was co-valedictorian. I had a 4.5 GPA. My first time taking the ACT, I earned a 28. So I literally could have gone anywhere. And I said, you know what? I'm going to plan out how I'm going to do this college thing. I'm going to be in here 4 years, and I'm going to go straight to get my master's at Tennessee State for a year and a half, and I'm going to go straight down in Houston, go to law school. My college plan said, I don't know what you thought you were doing, but you're not going to do that right now. So with that being said, I took a different path, because when I entered school, I was actually a biomolecular and biochemistry major. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. With that being said, my plans shifted so quick, because law was always something that I wanted to do, but I was so intrigued with anatomy. I always wanted to be a doctor. I said, okay, well, maybe I can do this. My plan said, no, this is what you need to do. This is how you're going to do it. I came in with a set mind, but eventually college changes things, because 2 weeks into the semester, I got called into my advisor's office. She said, William, I don't think that the biomolecular science and biochemistry major is for you. And I said, you know what? You're correct. And that just goes to show that plans change in college, and that's okay. I think a lot of people come into college with a set mind that, oh, I'm going to do this. My parents want me to do this. But one thing we have to understand, at the end of the day, in 4 years, when your name is called across that stage, hopefully end of April, early May, it's you earning the degree. Your hard work goes into earning that degree, whether it's a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Fine Arts, magna cum laude, summa cum laude, you're earning that degree. So make the best of it and be open to change. How we're adapting to the change around us for COVID-19, adapt to the change that college brings you, because it's not all bad. A lot of it is good.
I just want to say, William, thank you for sharing that, because I was actually a biology pre-med major when I started off at Lipscomb University. And so Ashton, just going off everything that William just said, my advice would be, first of all, don't let the situation belittle the triumph of graduating high school, because that in and of itself is a huge accomplishment. And I tell all the, the seniors that I've worked with or talked to in my local high school, I tell them, like, don't let the situation bring you down, because you graduating from high school, it's such a huge thing and it's such a huge accomplishment, and you did that. Like, no one else did that, you did that. So don't let anything about the situation bring you down. And second of all, it's one thing to have the aptitude for a subject, but if you don't have the passion for it, don't feel the pressure to choose something. And I learned that the hard way when I chose pre-med, as something that I thought I wanted to do. And I found myself in just a miserable situation where I was just not enjoying what I was doing. And so, like, that would be my advice. Just don't feel the pressure of the situation, and don't allow it to, push you to choose something you really don't want to do. Like, allow yourself to really discover, what you like and what you enjoy and what gives you that passion and what fuels your fire, and then go and choose something. Because I mean, for the first 2 years, it's pretty much gen eds for the most part, but like, don't allow the situation, make you feel like you're pressured to choose something. Really take the time to discover what you want and what is best for you, and you only, not for everyone else, but for you. So that would be my advice for everyone.
I want to encourage some seniors that you're graduating again, like Ruby and William said. High school is no small thing, and just know and always keep with you that your journey is your own. And I'm the person to tell you that. I graduated high school in 2013. All my peers graduated college in 2017. Here I am still trying to get my bachelor's. But, it's something that I really want for myself, and I haven't given up. There have been things in my path that have slowed me down along the way, but as long as you have that ambition, then nothing can stop you. Again, your journey is your own. So looking at the next person and seeing what they're doing is not going to help you in any type of way. And if you don't graduate in 4 years or 5, who cares? You're exactly where you need to be at the time that you need to be there, and just embrace all the challenges and learn from what you can.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love hearing from you all on this, because you can speak out of your own experiences, right? Paths aren't always smooth. It's not always a straight line. And though I think this time period feels even more uncertain and even more scary collectively for everyone, which is like a really, I think, unique experience, right? It's really powerful to hear you all speak to situations that you and challenges that you surmounted in your life. And I think that that's great advice for graduating seniors, and great advice for all of us, that challenges are going to come up, but you either plow through them or, like William said, switch directions. Well, I want to end our time with or get close to ending our time. And thank you guys so much for being our panelists, and thank you to everyone listening in. This is a question very similar to one that we had on our docket, and it's from, I want to find the right person. Who's it from? Well, I don't know who it's from, but it's basically, what's some silver linings right now? What's on your mind that's giving you hope, was the question from the audience member. So this is open to everyone. Feel free to jump in as you want. John, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah. So what's giving me hope is the fact that because of this, bad situations such as COVID-19, a lot of innovation opportunity arises. So yes, there's a lot of bad things that are occurring right now. Yes, the situation might not seem like it's getting any better, but there's a lot of opportunity out here coming from that, especially in the medical fields and whatnot. So I feel like we should be optimistic of what is to come from this stuff,
I feel like a silver lining that has came from this and being kind of stuck inside all day was just focusing on myself. I think I, along with everyone on here, has a very tight schedule, and I felt like if it wasn't for this, I probably still would have continued, and soon enough, I probably would have been burnt out. And so like this has been, to me, a privilege to have all this time to reflect and really dive into who I am and reflect on what truly matters. Because I think in society, like, you know, people may look at us and think like, oh, she has all these accomplishments, like she is this, and this, but it truly hits home when you're by yourself and you still feel clueless, or maybe you still feel a void. And it's like, I have all these accomplishments, my resume looks amazing, but like what is it in me that isn't satisfied, and digging deep into that. So I feel like very blessed that this has been a time for self-reflection and just being able to do everything that we always say we would do, like painting or yoga. I don't know, this has just been a really good time to just focus on what truly matters to us, the relationships we have and the people we care about. And then I feel like moving forward, I feel like we'll be a lot more grateful and thankful for what we do have and who we are.
I think one thing that is giving me hope is if you come to Fisk, 9 times out of 10, you'll see me outside giving a tour to a group of high school students, to a group of transfer students, to some parents, some alum who want to come back and just, just see their institution. And that's what's giving me hope, because not only do I love representing my institution to the best of my ability, but I love being able to help impact someone's decision, and not even if they don't choose Fisk, to let them know that there are other options out there in the world, that college, of course, is a great option to do. Everybody doesn't have to do college, but it is a great option to do. And just to have that type of impact on someone's life is hope in and of itself. Another thing that's hopeful to me is I'm sure, because Ruby went to she goes to Lipscomb, so she knows about this. In late February, early March, Nashville was hit by a devastating tornado. And me personally, I wasn't in Nashville when it happened, because it was the beginning of our spring break, and I had flown off to Washington, D.C. for an internship retreat. And while I was there, I was with some friends I had met at Tennessee State. One of them serves on the Royal Court, the other is on their junior class council. And just to see how the Fisk students that were there and the Tennessee State students that were there, as well as a few Lipscomb students who were there, we came together and said, well, we need to do something in our society. And that gives me hope, because we're students from very different backgrounds who came together to help clean up our city, even though it's not our city, because some of us are not born and raised in Nashville, but it becomes our city because we live here for the next 4 years. And to have that kind of togetherness is what I'm hoping, and what gives me hope that we'll have when we come back in the fall.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, William. Thank you. KaMaya, I'd love to end with you, and then I'll transition us out with the help of EdTrust. So KaMaya, what's giving you hope right now?
The thing that is giving me hope is that I actually see myself in different forms. I'm going to piggyback off of a lot of what everyone else said. John mentioned earlier that this is a great time for opportunities. I do feel that it is. I've been wanting to sew for years now, and I just bought a sewing machine like a month ago, and I'm not the best at it, but it's a start. And then knowing that there are people out there that looks at you like you make an impact on me, the things that you say, the things that you do, it's a reflection of you to other people. That's a big thing. So you have to watch what you do. You have to watch what you say as well. Knowing that I have kids here, that they are looking up to me, have to be sure that I'm doing what I need to do, because they're looking up to me like, Maya, I want to do that, or I want to do this like you. And I know that a lot of people come to me for advice and everything like that about college, about life. And it gives me hope that I feel like I'm doing something right.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to our student panelists. Thank you to those on the line listening in and asking really good questions. Be on the lookout, attendees, from an email from Chalkbeat. We're going to ask you a couple follow-up questions about this event and just some advice for how to keep doing these better and better. So thank you again to our students. You guys rock. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ginny, who will close us out.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And I want to give a big shout out to Ashton as a powerful moderator. You did a great job. And so I want to thank everybody for joining us today, for posing questions, for engaging with our panelists who are truly experts. They showed that today. They have a lot to share. We have a lot to learn from them. And so I want to let you know that we will continue to provide them with opportunities to raise their voices, to empower them, to make sure policymakers and decision makers hear what they have to say. We look forward to partnering with them throughout the remainder of the year and them telling their stories as they return to school. As an equity organization, educational equity organization, EdTrust really believes that it's really important that the planning and the execution of supports and instruction for students in college is done equitably and thoughtfully, and that these students get the supports they need to be successful, whether that's online or in person in the coming months. We know that there's a lot still up in the air. Our hearts are with all of you as you're working hard and supporting your families and doing the best you can. We're tremendously proud of you. And so we will remain in touch, and we want to thank everybody for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of the week. Be well, everybody. Thank you.